All right, guys, day 17 of our at-home workout. This video is for my students for my 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time Zoom class. Now, if you're not part of the Zoom class, you can still follow along by copying these workouts at home. Just make sure, of course, if you work out, disclaimer, make sure you have medical clearance to do so. Now, with that being said, anybody and everybody can work out regardless of what has happened to you. Today, I'm gonna have a special focus on athletes that I've trained with cerebral palsy. Now, I'm not an expert on cerebral palsy, but I've trained many athletes with cerebral palsy to get them to work out. So at the end of the video, we'll talk about special circumstances with specific kinds of cerebral palsy. I'm gonna focus on primarily balance and lack of control of the joints, the rotational control, knees diving in, etc. We'll get there. So that's what the focus of the video is gonna be. But before that, we're gonna go through all of our standard workouts for all of my individuals in my classes. So here we go. The workouts are down below in the description, the full workout there. Overview, we're going for 3 rounds 4 time, a chipper workout, 40, 30, 20, 10. The movements are lateral jumps, squats, weighted press or push press, and burpees. There are advanced versions of each one of these for those of you that want to get after it a little harder. Now, each one of these movements we do all the time in class. You should be good at them. If you're the fundamentals, you've forgotten them for these movements, I have separate videos on each one of these movements below. Okay, now let's talk about the unique and hard stuff as it pertains to each of my athletes. So for our first workout, we actually have 2 workouts. We're only gonna talk about the first one right now. First one is 3 rounds, 40 lateral jumps, leaps, or hops. Advanced is gonna be over an object. Oh man, of course, I forgot my weight. Okay, I forgot my weight, no worries. I'm gonna pretend one of these weights are heavy here. All right, so for our lateral jumps, our primary goal here is to express our jumping ability from side to side, okay? Now that can be a jump, it can be a leap with 1 leg at a time, it can be just a big step depending where you're at. This movement can also be done in a kneeling position. Here, we can step 1 leg over or 1 leg to the side, or it can be done as a dip, dipping to the side with 1 arm, dipping to the side with the other arm if our legs don't work. Full explanation of how to do a lunge below. Now, for those of you that want a bigger challenge, we're gonna be jumping over an object. A little bit higher, a little bit more work. Now for those, or first, before we jump, step, or leap over an object, we wanna make sure that we clear this object. We do not wanna fall. So again, be extra careful with what you do here. We do not wanna catch our foot and trip. It's actually nice to have an object, maybe that moves easy, so we can kick it out of the way if we actually mess up. So that's our first movement. Can you laterally move? Jump, step, or leap. Next, we're going with a squat movement. Can you raise or lower your center of mass? Very simple. Squatting. This can also be done kneeling. If our legs don't work, it will be a dip. Now, the advanced version. The advanced version is today going to be a squat down to a kneel, a short lunge, setting 1 knee on the ground and then stepping back forward, standing up, then we squat and we kneel on the other leg. That's 2. That is going to be the advanced version. Squat to kneel. Movement 3, weighted press or push press. This is what I forgot my weight for. Let's pretend these are heavy objects. We're going to press overhead for our 3rd movement for a set of 20, or push press, depending on what you want to work or how heavy your object is. Either one is fine for me. Finally, we have 10 burpees, going from the standing position to the floor and then back to standing, obeying all of our movement principles with a little jump on top. Now, again, for this video, or this movement, we have different variations for every individual for our burpee in the video below. Now let's talk about our advanced move today. We're gonna go burpee to mountain climber. I wanna practice that end range split stance. So if the burpees are hard enough for you and they take a long time, let's just work on our burpees. Okay, now for our advanced version, we're gonna go down to the burpee, back up, and then step forward once, and then step forward again in a wide mountain climber, and then finish your burpee. We are gonna get 10 of those. Every time we're at the bottom of this movement, I want you to emphasize pushing in to stretch the hip and your back, the hip flexor, extending it in the back. You can even set your knee on the ground if you want to. That's totally fine. What I'm looking for here is end range. Okay, so that is our burpee. 40, 30, 20, 10, 3 rounds, 4 times. And like always, as long as we get some good work here, I don't really care about the reps, so feel free to drop the reps on certain movements which you struggle with. You should know what those are. Okay, so that is our first workout, part A. Part B, we have a 30 to 60 second lunge hold. Lunge hold meaning finding our lunge position and trying to balance in that position for 30 to 60 seconds. If we pick 30 seconds, halfway through, we're gonna switch to the other side. Oh, my shoe is coming off. This is really hard with my back injured leg. You get to pick how wide your lunge is. You get to pick how deep you go. For me, with my back leg, it's a little bit harder, so my second lunge, I'm probably gonna be a little bit higher and a little bit closer in to make it more doable. So that is the goal, 30 to 60 seconds or 15 to 30 seconds on each leg. For our folks whose legs aren't working, we're going to do a dip hold, staggered dip hold. Again, 30 to 50 seconds on one side, 30 to 50 seconds on the other, or kneeling lunges are fine as well. Again, video for lunges is down below. Finally, we come to our second movement, 8 to 16 glute bridge thrusts. So glute bridge thrust means an elevated back position. So I'm going to find an object to put under my shoulders. A chair works great. A couch works better. An ottoman is probably the best thing you can get. And we're going to press up to glute bridge and hold 1 second and then come back down. We're looking for 8 to 16. The advanced version today is going to be doing this on one leg. Just like that. And again, if your glutes don't work at all, we are going to substitute for some kind of pressing movement. Finally, we have 5 single leg squats per side. Okay, this is a specific one. Now, if you're familiar with single leg squats, a pistol is fine. Totally fine, but most of us can't do those. So our workaround is going to be standing on one leg, letting the other leg go back, squatting down as deep as we can until we put our hands on the ground, then squatting the rest of the way. Then getting back up the same way, nice, controlled, slow, leaning on the front leg, pushing the hips up, letting go with the hands and standing up. That will be our single leg squat. If we're working with a compromised limb, we can leave the other leg planted on the ground for balance wherever we want. So you'll see I'll bend here until my hands touch, and then I'll squat the rest of the way down. Now that's a limit for me. That's where my knee stops bending, so that's the bottom of my squat. And then I get up again on this side and extend the leg. Notice I leave my back leg on the ground, toes touching for support, and then I stand on up. So that is going to be our squat movement. If we are doing this from the floor, it is going to be some variation of our single leg kneel. So if we have our legs split here, maybe balancing, we're going to be squatting down on one leg, the front leg, maybe using our hands if we need to, squatting down just like that. If we can't use our legs at all, again, we're going to substitute here with a one-arm press. So a one-arm strict press will be fine, or a one-arm floor press. Considering If our legs don't work, the last two movements are both pressing movements. We can do an overhead press and a floor press. Guys, okay, that is our workout, part A and part B. Part B is 3 rounds going through that whole thing. So now a spotlight for today. We're gonna focus on doing this workout if we have cerebral palsy. Now, cerebral palsy manifests itself in lots of different ways. We're gonna focus on kind of some common things I see from athletes that don't use forearm crutches, that are standing, that have some kind of spastic cerebral palsy, which is really tight muscles and lack of control of the rotation of their hips. So with my athletes, I see balance issues standing up, I see a lot of caving into the knee, etc. So let's talk about what this workout looks like if we have those specific things, at least part A. Let's talk about part A. So first is our lateral steps. So as an athlete with cerebral palsy, if we have balance issues, first and foremost, we can always use something to hold on to as I do these lateral steps and jumps. Now, jumping with CP is quite difficult. What I'd recommend is just going to steps to the side or little leaps, depending on your ability. Now, the biggest thing I care about is where your knees are in space. So I don't want to see your knees start to cave in as you step laterally. I want you planting and trying to push the knee over as far as possible. Now, I know this is asking a lot, but over some is better than over none. So even if you're here and go to here, it's a lot better than if you're caved in down here as we step over. So we're gonna step over to one side, then step over to the other side. Second move, squats. Again, with our squats, if we need to, we can hold on to something. But even before we talk about that, what I care about is having our feet straight and, again, not letting our knees collapse or trying to fight against it. So one thing I like to do with my athletes with cerebral palsy is squat with our legs together. This blocks our knees and keeps our knees lined up over our feet, which is what we want. Now, this is gonna make your squatting harder, but that's fine. This is training. We're trying to do hard things so we get stronger. You can squat as deep as you can. Now, of course, you can squat by holding on to something. You can squat by sitting down to a chair. That works as well. You can squat by leaning against a wall and having your back to the wall and squatting against it with both your legs together. I think that is an appropriate hard movement. Just make sure, when you get down, you can get back up. If you're worried about not being able to get back up, make sure you have something to sit down to. Okay, so that's our second movement, our 30 squats. The third movement, 20 weighted press to push press. That one should be, I think, much more doable. If you struggle with using something, pushing with 2 hands, try pushing with 1 hand. It provides a little more range of motion in our back to keep everything nice and straight. So we can push, again, straight up and down. If you have balance issues, hold on to something. Make sure the knees are in a good spot. You can lean against a wall and press up at the same time. That's totally fine. And finally, 10 burpees. So burpee is just getting up and down off the floor. So what we do is bend over. You can have your feet together and knees together. That would be fantastic to control where your knees go. Legs go back. You can step one at a time. We go down for a push-up. You can push up any way you want to get up. And then we're looking to step forward with our legs again. Now, if we have balance issues getting up or down, use something to hold on to get up, something to press against. When we get up, the one thing I care about is where's our knee in space? Are we letting it collapse here and getting up like this? Or can we control it? I'm even fine if you put your own hand on your knee and push against it as you get up to try to keep your knee over your foot and not let it escape outside. I think that is one of the best points you can practice as a CP athlete. Guys, there is our spotlight focus on CP. If you have CP, you have any questions, I coach many athletes with spastic, diplegia, dystonia, all kinds of stuff. So let me know if you have any questions. All right, now it is time for you guys to do the workout, to try the movements. Apologize for not doing the workout myself this last week. The upload times are getting a little bit difficult. So until I figure that out, I'm gonna keep not doing the workouts on film so I make sure this gets uploaded in time. Guys, good work. I will see my class tomorrow morning, and And everybody else on the internet, keep moving, find a way to move. If you want to train with us, let me know how to join our Zoom class, or if you want to train privately with me, let me know. If you're an instructor interested in this kind of content, we have a seminar for you to help coach athletes with different circumstances. Guys, great work. See you tomorrow.